about it. And I'm not concerned. What I am is disgusted by the fact that in the court of public opinion, Deshawn Watson may not be able to come back from this. And the fact that the gentleman who is kind of headlining this and he is the one to get these accusations to move forward, I haven't seen any paperwork. I haven't seen any legitimacy. And more importantly, I haven't seen him. You know, when you defend someone as a lawyer and you represent them, you put your face out there. You protect your client, but you put your face out there so that the people know I am fighting this. I am standing up for the voiceless. Where has he been? Why have we not heard his name mentioned more in the media with regards to this and these allegations? Now, with regards to Deshawn Watson, he's doing exactly what I feel he should be doing. He is circling his wagons right now because he knows that until this comes to light, nothing he says is going to be viewed as legitimate. So right now, he is just staying within his circle, talking to his people, and letting this other gentleman get exposed for the potential fraud that he is. And I still say that because we don't, or let me just say it for myself, I don't know. And I'm not going to cast any type of, I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying here. I don't know that these allegations are or are not true. And so I reserve the judgment until that happens. But to me, if you want my personal opinion, and this is strictly me, not Zennie, not Alex, this is your man, Eric Wilson. Deshawn Watson is innocent and is getting blackballed for being a black man who took a white owner to the cleaners.
Yep.
And they don't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah. Alex?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wilson, for mentioning that I was the one to break the news. I was hammered whenever I came out. Now, I'll admit I posted the wrong thing, but I fixed it and made it right. And after I did, it was like, please, you weren't there. You don't know. And then immediately I stayed up that night and made sure I wrote the article explaining the background of this man because I didn't want his character or his reputation to be questioned. Now, I did this after there was one allegation. And you see how that has spiraled into a Barnum and Bailey circus of 21 Jane Does. Now, look, one, I'm going to be on Watson's side because that's a he said, she said. 2, 3, I need to see some evidence. I'm sorry. He's been too squeaky clean. I need to see some evidence. 4, 5, 6, something's wrong. When it made it up to 9, it made him look like he was a sexual predator. We're up to 21, and it seems like Buzbee is trying to make this man look like a recidivist, a rapist, a preyer amongst women. When in college, there was no stories about this. In his 4-year career, there was no stories about this. His girlfriend must be like, what the hell is this? And where the hell is this coming from? Because there was no stories about this. But that's the beautiful thing about being a Texas attorney. Texas is still old school when it comes to the ways that you produce evidence and the way that you treat people on a civil suit, because he hasn't come out with one shred of evidence, not a name, not a videotape, not an audio tape, not a sworn affidavit. He just claims that all of these women, whether they're true or not, benefit of the doubt, had bad sexual encounters with Deshawn Watson. But here's the 2 things that the public needs to know. 9 out of 10, not all the time, but 9 out of 10, when a professional athlete sees a masseuse, there's a good 99.9% chance that the franchise, an owner, a general manager, a teammate, or somebody knows of it. Number two, he's been in the league for 4 years. 21 alleged lawsuits, 4 years' time. So you're telling me that he's averaging 5 sexual assaults a year and the franchise didn't know anything about it? Cal McNair's father didn't know anything about it. Bob didn't know anything about it. I mean, look, don't urinate on my back and tell me it's raining. I said it off the top. I said it in my article. I said it in multiple pieces. This is a scam. This is a sham. This is a way to try to ruin a man's reputation because he signed a contract instead of you franchise tagging him not once but twice because he refuses to play for you. DJ Reader took less money in Cincinnati to get the hell out of Houston. Tyrann Mathieu didn't get along with Bill O'Brien, went to Kansas City, won a championship. J.J. Watt forego his last year on the contract so that way he could be free, and he joined DeAndre Hopkins, who Bill O'Brien didn't like the fact that his baby mamas came around the facility. Guess what? Tom Brady got baby mamas too. I guess they're held to a different standard. You could use rings if you're going to go that route. You could use rings or you could use skin tone. All right, I'm trying to be as down the middle as possible. A tort reform law is only good in Texas because if he was in California, Illinois, or Florida, the garbage that Tony Buzbee is doing right now would not fly.
It's not called tort reform in Texas. It's called tort deform. Keep that in mind. There's a reason. All right.
1 hour ago, they're interested in getting a trade done for Deshawn. He's on the trade block, and they're going to let it go.
Yeah, Mom was talking about the trade that possibly could happen. Watson to another team, and
there's 3 teams interested in
3 teams, and yeah.
Three?
Yeah, 3. What are they?
Carolina's one of them.
Say again?
Carolina's definitely one of them.
Yeah, Carolina, the Jets, perhaps.
I would give that number 2 pick to get Deshaun Watson. I would.
Oh, he's worth it, definitely.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that.
Especially
under the new head coach. Now that Adam Gase is gone, yeah,
he'd have a free table at 21, no question about it. So
the way he was brought up and with his mom and all those different things and the history of this boy, I did not believe it to start with.
No,
I mean, he's probably a little naive, but other than that, I really don't think he's somebody really paid on 21 women. Somebody really paid some money.
But see, to me, the focus should be directly on Tony Buzbee. This is a guy who he saves his most arrogant, nasty, and ridiculous attacks for black men who have a title. He did it with Kevin Sumlin after the Aggies dropped that gigantic lead they had against UCLA in 2017. He did it to Sylvester Turner when he ran against the black mayor. And then he said to Turner, oh, you and this intern have been communicating. And then he made up a fake text message, all right? And then said he had the text message. Does this sound familiar? Okay. He did this in 2019. Then had an artist make up the text message and say, that's it. But a reporter who actually knew better had enough, whatever you want to call it, to say, well, wait a minute. That doesn't actually look like a text message.
Right.
What is that? And Tony said, I hired an artist to make the text message.
How he remains a lawyer is a mistress to me.
No, he pays people.
He must pay off someone to keep his license.
Yeah, but he does. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so he says, okay, with respect to Mayor Turner, well, okay, I had an artist make it up, but I know it exists because there was this phone record that he had that supposedly said that there was this phone call that happened. There's no proof of it, okay? know the phone record is accurate. All right. This is a guy who got a DUI, should have done time, but everybody knew he bought off the judge. That happened in 2017. All right. This is a guy who buys a tank, puts it out in front of he takes chances, and he's one of these people that where everybody is sitting around saying, "Oh, gee, I'm not going to do that." He does it anyway.
Right.
Then he says, "Okay, stop me." And that's that. If you want to figure out what makes Tony Buzbee tick and why he's so rich, it's that. Okay, but Napoleon met his Waterloo, and I believe this is Napoleon's Waterloo because you cannot look at this stuff. This guy not only did this with Turner. Turner called for him to be the focus of a criminal investigation, which did not happen. And on top of all that, then he turns around. He says first he was a Democrat in 2005. Then he holds this fundraiser for Donald Trump where he raised like $1,200,000. All right. There he is with Donald Trump right there. Okay. That was 2016. Then after the whole Access Hollywood deal, he turns around and says, "I'm not supporting you, pal." But then guess what? Trump wins the election. So there's Tony with $500,000 to put right in the inauguration. All right. This guy, he's spine. He's got this where is there a spine? I mean, I'm still looking for it. I can't find it. Somebody help me. Where is it? It's not there. Oh my God. Whoa. Okay. No wonder. And they're letting him get away with this stuff, except me. All
I
right?
think it goes back to what you were saying. It's very much if you tell him he can't do something, or if you all say you're going to go right, he wants to go left just to be that guy to show up and show out. And it doesn't matter with whom he hurts in the process or who he has to ruin in order to make sure that he is still shown in the best light. So, it's a shame that people like him do still, in fact, have a job and are given any type of credibility. I mean, if you look at the laundry list of things that he has done just over the last, and we'll take the last 5 years, if you will, these are not minor things. These are not simple little, "Oh, hey, I dare you to do this," or "I bet you can't do this." We are talking major events in our life, in our history, that his name is going to be forever attached to. And as long as he is continually with that mindset that good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. As long as you're talking about me, then I'm good. I think we need to really call it, instead of Waterloo, we need to truly call this Custer's last stand. Because I feel like once this all comes out and he is proven wrong yet again, I really think it's going to hit him a lot harder than it has in the past. I'm hoping, that is my hope. I want to see that. What I want to see is the aftermath. Once Deshawn Watson has been vindicated from all this, and the other gentleman, you don't have the credibility or the leg to stand on. I want to see how many supporters he still has. I want to see how many people, especially those in the Houston Texans organization, I want to see how many of those people begin to separate themselves from him to save their own backside. That's what I'm curious to see.
Yeah.
But I will say this, it is still a network of older Caucasian men who are running the National Football League. And I still say to this day, until that changes, what they do and how they do it is going to be, that's just the way it is.
Well, I think, my thought basically on that is, with media, we have the opportunity to change this just by churning out content. And I don't accept that that's the way it is. I mean, for example, if you just simply produce more content. This is level playing field.
Right.
And if you find the right code and the right message at the right time, you can spark a revolution. It's easier to do now than ever before in our entire lives. So I don't accept that with him. What I do accept is that he's with a group of people who don't realize that, and so they don't know that the internet exists.
Right.
And what he does on a regular basis never ceases to amaze me. I mean, okay, look, I'm going to read to you what this blogger wrote about Tony back in 2016. This is actually, this is 2019. This blogger is John. I forgot John's last name, but it says, if you haven't figured it out by now, and it's in Oakland News Now, and so I'll right here. And by the way, Eric, we got to get Alex on our team, man. We got to hook him up with some stock and get him installed, and so he can waylay with Zennie 62 Media.
Oh yes, there's a lot of good things happening with Zennie 62 Media, Alex. We definitely need to get you on board.
Yeah, we have the three horsemen. Well, four. I think we have enough numbers.
Oh yeah, we do. We need to get Bill in here. That'll be the four horsemen if you get Bill in here.
Yeah, that's right. I always think of Bill as the draft guy. So I didn't, but he would, have definitely. But we'll have another time. But I was going to say there was this blogger that wrote this. He says, if you haven't figured it out by now, let me call this up. Here it is. This is in a piece I wrote, and I'm still adding stuff too. I call it the anchor piece, but the name of it is right here. A look at Tony Buzbee, the lawyer, Trump donor, accusing Texans QB Deshawn Watson of sexual assault, and then update. And there's Tony, and you can see I have all the links to the other articles. And this was originally written, okay, on the date of March 18th. And I wrote back then, I said that Tony Buzbee is filing 12, now 22 assault lawsuits against Deshawn Watson. So I had already forecast he was going to get up to that number. I wasn't going to wait, all right? But I'll tell you why. And why I wasn't going to wait right after I read to you this piece that this blogger who has been following Tony for years wrote right below here. It goes, if you haven't figured it out by now, Tony Buzbee is a Republican. And it was no clearer than the last 2 days of the campaign. He sent out an anti-LGBTQ mailer, and Donald Trump endorsed him via a text. Some Republican Party leaders even volunteered to send worthless robocalls. That pretty much solidified his stand in the Republican Party. But we all knew this when he entered the race. On one hand, Buzbee donated over $1 million to Trump, then went to his inauguration ball. He sought the endorsement of an anti-LGBTQ organization led by the homophobic poobah himself, Steve Hotze. He would said anything to get anyone to get anything. For the Republicans, it didn't work so well. They refused to endorse him, even though they endorsed two of the absolute worst candidates to run for office, Dolfino and Dick. These are local people I'm not aware of. On the other hand, he attempted to also play the Democrats, by donating to the Harris County Democratic Party. For his $180,000 contribution, he got booed off the stage and ran out of the executive meeting by hundreds of precinct chairs who gladly took and spent his money to wipe out all the Republican judges in Harris County. That didn't work out so well for Buzbee either.
No, not at all.
So as Tony Buzbee said, he fights with both hands and drinks with both hands. But in the end, he had to be on both parties with both hands. It got sticky. I mean, that's okay. And I wrote after that, I wrote, and stickier still is his proximity to the Houston Texans. And this is a map that I found. I don't know if you can see this, all right? This is the actual map of where that he lives versus the McNairs. It is a 2-minute walk. You see that? This is 2 minutes. All you got to do is walk across Del Monte Drive and just down the street a little bit, just put on some Skechers and you're there. Boom, that's it. That is it. And then, okay, I've got it all laid out here. This is public information, all right? And then he says he doesn't own Calvin. You probably have seen this, the whole billboard.
Yes.
Right? And then he goes on with, there's a lot of good information here that I'm still adding to, basically. But there is this piece, but then the other one that really just sent me to the moon. I mean, just absolutely made me go into orbit was this whole 2018 deal where he is, because at this point I figured it was a clown show, all right? I just happened to see this reference on TMZ out of a little corner of my search eye. And I just froze. Snoop Dogg. I see, you got to be kidding me, man. I say, am I actually reading this? And basically, it's right here. Tony Buzbee of Deshawn Watson lawsuit gets lap dances from exotic dancers, okay? And there he is. See that? I mean, TMZ pointed him out. He's like, right there. He's got an arrow on his face. All right? Okay? So, I mean, and then the actual article at TMZ's got the whole video. That's my tame version because, YouTube rolls, right?
Oh, no, I've seen the whole video. And believe me, the fact that it's there, I mean, it's definitely a, what do they call it? An NSFW, not safe for work. I mean, just, you're watching this and you're like, really? This is the guy? This is the guy who's headlining or trying to be the focal point for all of these 21 women and their allegations. Listen, we all got skeletons in our closet. Let's not pretend that we don't. But if you're going to go after someone, you can't.
I beg to differ. All my skeletons are out of my closet.
Okay. Well, you are the 0.0001% there, Zennie. What I'm saying is you can't throw stones at a glass house. You know what I'm saying? You just, I mean, to watch that, to see all this happening, it, to me, again, no credibility, no consistency, and most importantly, no character. So I just, I do. My heart bleeds, honestly, for this young man because to everything that Alex said, this is the first we're hearing about this. You done been in the league now 5 years. You done got paid because of your performance on the field and what you were able to do. You started the season, last season, I believe it was 0-4, or maybe 2 seasons ago, and then you rattle off 10 wins and continually get your team to the postseason. And that is without the number 2 best defensive player in the league. And you're doing it this season without your number 1 in DeAndre Hopkins. You're turning something from nothing. But now we're going to attack you because you don't like the way things are. You see the writing on the wall, basically. What summed it up for me this season with the Texans, and I know we're speaking specifically about the other gentleman, is the fact that J.J. Watt, as the last game was happening, he walked up to Deshaun Watson and apologized for a season being wasted with this young man's talent. And that was all I needed to hear. But now it's the off season, and it just seems like whatever they can do, and I know it's more than one. See, Buzbee is the man that everybody, and that's the first time I've said his name and probably the last time I will say his name because I don't want to give him any credibility. I think he is the puppet because I think there's more behind this. And I think we really need to start peeling back that layer and find out who are the true people feeding him the scripts that you hear him say and hear him talk about.
Yeah, on that note, I want to add, I want to know who's feeding Sports Illustrated that script, because they claim to interview a lap dancer that, or a massage therapist that that Watson saw in 2019, wouldn't name the name, and yet this person's rattling off the same line that's in all the other lawsuits. And I looked at this, and the first thing that went through my head was, they paid for this.
Oh, yeah.
It's the pandemic, okay? So I asked, I'm not going to say the author's name. I got nothing against her specifically because I think she's put up to do it. But I asked her on Twitter and by email. She hasn't answered me. So I gave her a day. I said, I'm going to give her a day. And if I don't get an answer, I'm going to go public with my observation regarding what they wrote. And I did. And I'm not going to stop. Because this type of problem in the NFL media is all too common. It hit Geno Smith. I remember I was there when Geno Smith basically lowered the boom on his two agents and fired him at the draft. He's talking to another person who I know, and if I say the name, you guys know, but I'm not going to mention it because this ain't about him. Right. And he ran with it. This guy had a track record, has started establishing a track record of attacking black athletes.
This is all I say, because we've already circled the wagons, pointed to the information, told you where to look. We've done that. We're black journalists. We do our job well, but there's only a handful of us. Zennie, I met you for the first time.
I'm a blogger, man. I'm not a journalist. I'm a blogger.
I met you almost 2 years ago.
Love the journalist. I'm just saying, man. I got a reason for saying that. I'm sorry, Alex. Go ahead. Or as this man said.
And
go ahead, Alex. You're on.
I met you almost 2 years ago, and we were at a National Association of Black Journalists. And don't get me wrong, there was quite a few of us in the room, but I mean, compared to the media across the country, there was a handful of us. For every one of us, there's at least 15 to 20 reporters who don't look like us. And until we conglomerate and work together to where black athletes don't get attacked for the way they stand, the way they kneel, the way they speak, their actions off the court, or their actions on the court or field, this is going to continue to happen. Now, I'm not going to bring up OJ because that's a horrible example. But look what happened to Ray Rice. It cost him his career. Look what happened to Kobe Bryant. Everybody had something to say. And then lo and behold, when it found out that she was lying and she had other people's DNA in her, it was like, oh, well, I guess Kobe really didn't do what she said that he did. We never get the benefit of the doubt. And this is one situation in which you have a 55-45 split. 55 are standing with Deshawn Watson and believe that he couldn't do something like this. Yet for some odd reason, with all the information out there, with how disruptive and non-professional the Houston Texans franchise is, you still have about a 45% population who believe that Deshaun Watson is a scumbag and a serial predator. This goes to the social media side, where I blame social media. Because back in the day, you used to have concrete evidence before you even made the news. Now, social media is making the news, and everybody is choosing whether to listen or not. I'm in multiple football chat rooms. I don't even want to count how many I'm in. And it's disgusting, some of the things people have said about Deshaun Watson by not even meeting him, knowing him, interviewing him, or taking a second to learn his backstory. Mm-hmm. So it's blind ignorance. It's like people who say all lives matter and then rush Washington, D.C. No, it's just something that fits your agenda. And I hope at the end of this sham that Deshaun Watson is free, escapes the AFC South, and has a very productive career.
What bothers me, Eric, you want to say something before I go ahead? I just wanted to.
No, I mean, I think Alex, I think he summed it up. It's a shame that in 2021, and we always say this, it seems like the one thing that changes is just the year. But the one thing we will always say is it's a shame that in 2021, this is still happening. The only thing that changes, like I said, is the year. But that statement is continually said over and over and over again.
What I find shameful is that we allow it to happen. Let me show you something that I got as a result of interviewing Rick Gates, who is the Trump deputy campaign manager, not just once, but 3 times. And I did so because I was interested in the kind of marketing technology that they were employing. I didn't know what it was, but I had some bits and pieces because it was similar to what the raison d'etre for starting Zennie 62 Media, okay? This is called the Psy Group. The Psy Group at the time was out of Israel. And if I scroll down this document right here, okay, it reads the document details, services provided. What this does is it builds, and the title of it, I think, is something that should be noted. I can't seem to zero in on the title up here. Let me see if I can get this to scroll down. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Campaign Intelligence and Influence Services Proposal. Campaign Intelligence and Influence Services Proposal. And what this would do, and this actually was written up in the New York Times, but this is a very detailed and expensive process by which they try to control social media. Okay, this is very common. This is more common than most folks realize. Here's another example of something that another corporation I've been following for a few years now. Because all of these, don't think these organizations have nothing to do with the NFL when public relations are at stake. Quite the contrary. This is one that I think, this organization I want everybody to be aware of. And it's called Crowds on Demand. Crowds on Demand here, that's the Psy Group, of course. Let me see if I can swap these guys, these buggers out, remove that. But what Crowds on Demand does is, let's say that you've got enough money to hire 3,000 people and you want to make a protest in 2 days. Now, you may not think you've got enough time to make that happen, but this organization right here specializes in that. You're home for protests, rallies, advocacy audiences, PR stunts, political events. They'll also do social media. My point is this: don't believe the stuff that you see on Twitter if you can't verify the person's identity. If it's one of those accounts that has a fake name and it has 0 followers and 0 people that it's following, that sort of thing, okay? Chances are, or if you're on Facebook and all of a sudden somebody attacks you because they think that you're left wing or whatever, and you look at their account, you realize that they have nothing but thread after thread after thread of going after persons for political arguments, right? Just to sow division, okay? Chances are that organizations like this were behind it. I mean, this isn't conspiracy theory. This is fact. And yeah, and my point is that I believe that Tony Buzbee is hiring people, or has hired people, to do on a smaller scale what that was done, and what Rick Gates wanted done on a larger scale that cost $2 to $3 million. But stuff like this can be done for between $4,000 and $7,000 a month. I've done it for campaigns. Okay, that's really the heart of Zennie 62 Media. A lot of media out there, for example, there's this idea, and this is why I say I'm a blogger, and you guys are, the reason why I assert that is because there are organizations like Hearst Corporation that do exactly what I do, but they hide. They hide. So if I take you to Hearst Media Services, what's on Zennie 62 Media is just like what's on theirs. The difference, however, is they don't make it known and they don't bring it into the coverage. But if you look at the bottom of the website, they've got the Houston Chronicle, the San Francisco Chronicle, and all of the other publications of the Hearst News brand that they're presenting in the reputation management business. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they started buying Facebook ads. So this attempt to control our opinions and in some cases keep folks in line, it's happening all the time. And in this instance, I assert that Buzbee was paid maybe, I would think it would be about $1,500,000 specifically just to sully Watson's name. And it can be turned around. It's just that he needs to hire Zennie 62 Media. To be honest with you, because we can turn that around for him big time. And his opponents wouldn't know what hit him. But that's what's going on because you have these older gentlemen who are white who are quite literally pitting themselves in an institution against young black kids.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. These players are young black kids. They come out, they get a lot of money, and they don't really know what is out there against them if they don't toe the line, whatever the line might be. Now, I think LeBron has some of that, but as much as I admire what Maverick Carter does, there is a limit to their growth because they don't seem to want to. Well, I'll just leave that alone. I just say that there's a limit to their growth. I'll just say this. Maverick, you guys need to embrace programmers, especially brothers who are tinkering with code. Just saying, okay? That's all. I'll just leave it at that. But there's enough room here for coders, journalists as a team. It's like the Japanese kairitsu, the concept of the corporation that was comprised of different little corporations that had different functions that are complementary. And I refer to past tense, but that's present tense too. So that's where I think that we have to be, because otherwise we're going to continue on with this idea that things don't change. You have to find the right lever to make them change, and the right lever doesn't always take a lot of money. It just takes a right approach.
Michael Irvin.
Yeah,
and I think that approach right now is exactly what you were talking about. I think that approach is the approach of, if you have the following, be it genuine, be it bought and paid for, what people are looking at is the numbers. That's what they're looking at. And when they see that, you've got 40,000, 50,000 followers, then they're going to stand up and take notice. And they're going to ask themselves, well, we don't want necessarily you, even though that you are the one who has all these. We want that extra 50,000. So by bringing you on, and exactly as you said, toe the line, we know that we're going to get that additional 50,000, which is just going to help elevate us. Mm-hmm. I think it's the biggest piece I think that maybe we might be missing is tapping in to the networks, the different networks that we have, and formulating very much like corporations do. You have an umbrella, and then you have everybody up underneath that umbrella.
Yeah.
And, I completely agree with you. You find a person and you find what they're good at, and you use that to elevate them and yourself. So now the one makes two, and from the two you get four, and so on and so forth. But when we don't have that mindset, and like you said, these are young black kids who I think are just now starting to get a true understanding of not only being an athlete, but being in the public eye all the time because you got your bag, because you secured that money.
Yep.
You know, and it might be a little bit of naivete. I don't know. It just, if there's not more of us giving out free game, if you will, and I use that term because I love the I Am Athletes podcast, and that's what they talk about. If we don't elevate each other, no one's going to do it for us. And we know that. We know that because we've been through it.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's on us to make sure that the generation, not the generation right behind us, but the generation behind them have that knowledge. So that way, when they get to the high school and the college level, they know that if you're going to be an athlete, you are worth something. You were already talented. You were already skilled. But now people are making money off of you that you don't even know about. Well, we need to change that. And I think Georgia, I just saw today, didn't Georgia pass that to where college athletes will now start getting paid for their brand name and likeness? I believe I did. I have to go back and check, so please don't quote me on that. But I think I did see that today, that Georgia did pass that. If that's the first shoe to drop, the NCAA is going to be in some serious trouble. But they've got reserves for the past 50, 60 years that I'm sure they can dip into if they need to.
I think we covered it. I think we got it. Signed, sealed, delivered. And whether people take the message or not, it's up to them.
Yeah, I think Georgia bill waives pay for college athletes to be paid. No, Georgia bill paves the way. So a day ago. Yeah, that's right. I found it. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. For college athletes to be paid for use of name, image, and likeness. Yeah, and I had Dan Rasher, who's from the University of San Francisco sport management program. Also, he was my business partner. We started sports business simulations on talking about this last year. So yeah, but you're right. Georgia paved the way. And as far as Buzbee and Watson, what bothers me though are, I think Pro Football Talk, I think Forio is coming around because Forio for a time looked like he was in the pocket of somebody. And I thought, and I actually wrote an email. I said, "What are you doing, man? Look at this stuff." And I remember he was talking with Charlie-Ann, and I don't normally watch their stuff. I mean, it's just because I'm busy with my own stuff. But I just couldn't believe how it's like they were sort of dancing around what they really wanted to say. I thought, why do that? Afraid of losing access? Just get the content. So I was talking to Alex about get the content, get the access.
Very true.
And then finally, I think it's changing. But then you've got, I just can't get over Sports Illustrated putting out something that looks like it's paid is checkbook journalism. And not only that, here's the other kicker. I found a study that was released in 2015, Texas Christian University, TCU, that the psychologist that wrote the study discovered, to cut to the chase, that there are 109 illicit massage parlors in Houston. Okay? Illicit. Now, basically, there are that many massage parlors in Houston, all right? So how much you want to bet that the massage parlor that was ran by this person that, what's her name at Sports Illustrated, and I'm saying what's her name because I don't want to use her name, what's her name at Sports Illustrated, interviewed, how much you want to bet that this person was one of those? And then they say in the article, well, he didn't touch me, he didn't do anything to me. And it sounds like the same thing that you hear from you read the Tony Buzbee lawsuits. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. How do we know that Tony Buzbee didn't hire Sports Illustrated to do reputation management? Because that's what it looks like to me. And I said it. I said it right there because it goes on. It happens a lot.
Follow the trail. Because
Did you
trust
guys
me, it will. Yeah.
Did you guys hear about David Brooks in the New York Times?
I have not.
Yeah, he was working under the radar for another company, writing on favorably about their brand in his columns in the New York Times. He didn't tell them. Okay. Or they say he didn't tell them. But there are all these different examples because you cannot make money in media using the traditional route. You can't do it with ads anymore and subscriptions. That's why the Athletic is about this close to going under. I remember seeing about a few years ago, I was sitting at the back of the press area at the NFL League meeting in Orlando. Yeah, it was the same where I actually met Jenna. You guys know Jenna, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And Peter was saying, gee, how long do you think? He was actually praying for the passing of the Atlantic. He hates the Atlantic for some reason. It's hilarious. And I was just like taking it all in because I'm sitting right there and I'm, hey, this is like good material because I'm using it now. But
there you go.
Right. But point I'm making is they're taking desperate measures. And if you look at TechCrunch, because I blog in different areas, not just right. TechCrunch now has sponsored. I would say about 50% of their works are sponsored, and they say right there it's sponsored articles because they can't make any money anymore the traditional route. That's why I have the business model that I do because I know you can't. So I think Sports Illustrated needs to cough up the truth rather than ducking. If it's because it'll call the whole thing into question. Because then the next question is, okay, who paid? You guys paid them, but who paid you, right? That's it's a big mess. They know it, and that's why they're not saying anything. But they could have said, as a disclaimer, we did not pay, but they didn't say that. To me, that's like saying you paid. And they keep hammering. So we trying to ruin Watson's reputation? Think about it. Ruins Watson's what? Reputation. What are we talking about here? Reputation management. Okay? So there's some crap going on here. You guys
There really is. There really is. And I know you guys are dead. I think we've I really feel like this is a conversation that I'm glad we are still able to have, and it's one that we continually need to have because if we don't, then it's not going to get talked about because we're approaching it. And I think we need to also make sure that we let people know we're not just sticking up for Deshawn Watson because he is a black man. We're not sticking up for Deshaun Watson because he's a black quarterback in the NFL. We are sticking up for an innocent man because that is what he is. Mr. Abraham, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Can I say this?
Please.
Can I say something real quick before you go, though? All right.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm sticking because he is a black man. And I'm not afraid, and because he's a black quarterback, I'm sticking up for him because, among other things, I remember when Cam Newton was coming out, the draft in 2011, and every time you turned around, there was a story about the laptop or a story about this or that, and they tried to make him look stupid. And there was a guy that worked for the Associated Press. I think it was Jim Gabbard. But he wrote a piece that was a deliberate hit piece on Cam that compared him, first of all, to every black quarterback without naming them actually as black quarterbacks. But you knew, he does this like, it was a total dog whistle. But what got me is he then turned around and said, Blaine Gabbert by contrast, plays in a pro-style offense. I said, Blaine Gabbert plays in a spread. He does not play in a pro-style. I said, this guy does not know what he's talking about. I was posting at SF Gate at the time, in addition to my blog, okay? So I wrote a deliberate hit job. I named the names. I named the author at USA Today. I even told Jared Bell about it. And then we got to the NFL draft. They had the red carpet the first 2010. I said, hey, Jim, remember that hit piece that dude wrote in SF Gate? He goes, yes, that was me. Okay. This stuff's got to stop. Okay. Big time in its tracks.
I agree.
And
I will make sure that y'all get connected. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having me on tonight.
Thanks, guys.
I appreciate you. All my best to your mother. Tell her we love her and thank you.
Oh, she's right here. I love you, Mom.
Yeah, I love you too.
Y'all have a good night.
All right. Thanks, Alex. Alex, we'll be talking very soon.
All right.
But tomorrow. Yeah. All right, man. Unless you want to stick around and talk some more. I'll see you guys later. All right. So, folks, thanks a lot. I didn't get a chance to go through the comments. I think it says you guys got this. Well said, sir. Thank you. Brilliant. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Well said. Keep it up this BS on this dude. Yeah. So hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. And I'll be back tomorrow. I've got former Oakland Mayor Ellie Harris coming on. If anybody else also has comments, you can also always leave them there. I think there's something I didn't quite understand that when Yoda. Some of you're still around about that. I'm glad you caught it. I'm glad you're here. And I thought I saw a putty cat named Dave Compton. What would you really call such a person like Tony? I would call him the lawyer equivalent of Gordon Gekko. That's what I would call him. Yeah. Mike Bessio calls the whole thing psychological torture. All right. So a craft attorney is burning out. Do you think Sean is that ignorant to effectively destroy his own life? No, not at all. No. No. Mike Bessio says, how did any woman and then a subsequent woman get to high-profile Buzbee in the first place? Because they didn't exist, Mike. I mean, it's easy to have your people in your office, churn out these. Here's my friend Clinton Killian, the famed Oakland lawyer, put it. He goes, this isn't. Look, Zennie. Let's say that you and I are in a car accident, okay? Because we got hit by a tractor trailer. So we file a lawsuit against the company. It's my name on it, your name on it, and everybody else that was involved. That's one lawsuit, 5 different names, okay? But see, what Tony is doing is instead of having the one lawsuit, he's taking these different names, he's cutting them up. And then he's writing different versions of the story. And then he's putting it out and he's filing it separately so that it has this constant press hit. Oh, it's another one. Oh, it's another one. Oh, it's another one. People react like yourself. You think that, these folks exist. And not only that, I think he's covering for, he's definitely working on behalf of the Texans. Definitely. And the people he claims to be working on behalf of, the reason why he's not coming forth with evidence, this is my hypothesis, is that their real stories are probably such they would land them in jail. It's extortion. And so somewhere Tony's figured out that he thinks he can take water and make it wine. And he's finding out he can't. And he's stuck and he's like getting sticky like the blogger was talking about. That's what I think is going on. All right. David, thank you for the thank you. Mike Basso says Zennie on it. Thank you. I'm trying, man. But I'm gonna keep up the heat. I owe Mr. Compton a hoodie. So I gotta take care of that tomorrow. All right, folks. It is 10:10 in the East. I thank you all very much. Dave, thanks a lot, buddy. I'll talk to you all later. Subscribe to Zennie62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com if you haven't done so already. that ends this broadcast. We'll see you.